And I want to motivate you, my fellow South Africans, don't listen to these people when they tell you you must focus on Africa, accommodate Africans because we are brothers and sisters. No, these people want to shift our focus so that we can focus on Africa and leave South Africa to crumble. And I say this again, Uguti, some of these Africans, when they speak like this, they are speaking from a place of jealousy. You understand? They are speaking from a place of jealousy. Because when they look at South Africa, it is better than the country where they come from in many ways. Yes, of course, maybe there are some aspects where South Africa is lacking and those countries are better. But all in all, we all know that South Africa is the country in Africa. You can choose to deny it, you can choose to accept it, but it's just the truth.
Stop talking about my country. Hey,
you, I keep telling you, we are African first before being from anywhere in Africa. I'm African first before I'm Congolese. So stop this crap of yours when you come out here and say, talk about Congo, stop talking about South Africa. Talk African first before I'm Congolese, Wena. Yes.
Yes, Wena.
We will learn your languages also and teach you in your own languages also. Ek verstaan. Every single time these freaking Africans come out here and they compete with one another, instead of uniting, you're supposed to unite. Your duty is to your Africanism first before your nationality. You are African first before you are South African. You, South Africa, you are, don't make me started. You are African first before you are Nigerian. You are African first before you are Congolese. You are African first before you are Moroccan, Zimbabwean, Egyptian, or even Rwandese. You are African first. And you have to unite. You have to recognize that. You have to ignore 1884. You have to ignore it. You have to unite. Look at them. What have you built? What has the black man built? Nothing. Look at every single thing. The white man has built stuff. The Asian man has built stuff. The Arab man has built stuff. What has the black man built? Nothing, because the black man doesn't want to unite with his fellow other black folk.
Okay, let's talk about this. You see, this is very, very interesting, ne? Listen, you see this clip that you just watched right now, ne? This is one example of why most African countries will never improve. This is one example of why most African countries will remain where they are or even get worse. It's because of this kind of mentality. Listen, people, us as Africans, we need to get our priorities in order. We need to understand what's important rather than coming to social media and all these other platforms and try to act as if we know what is important for Africa when actually we don't understand what is important for Africa. This guy is saying we are African first. So in other words, your country comes after the continent. People, that's the incorrect way of thinking about things. The continent will never be important ukudlula your country that you come from. Yes, we are all African. We are living in the continent of Africa. But we are all different. Let me put it this way. You know what's important, ne? First of all, the first thing that's important is you as an individual. You understand? That's the very first thing that's important. You come first as a person, as an individual. I come first in my life. You come first in your life as an individual. After that, your lineage comes second. Your lineage comes second. Your family name comes second. Your family comes second. Your country, your continent will never be more important than your lineage and your family. And your family will never be important ukudlula yourself. You understand? That's why I'm saying you come first, and then your family and your lineage comes second. And then after that, your country comes third. Your country, where you were born, where all your values and beliefs are situated. Your country, where you were born. Your country comes third. And then after your country, your continent comes fourth. And then after the continent, the whole world comes fifth. The continent is not important ukudlula your country. I'm going to say this forever and I'm never going to stop saying this. This thing of always telling us as South Africans, no, we must put Africa first and then put South Africa second. Njengoba nimuzwa, this guy is saying, no, we are African first before we are South African. What does that mean? How am I going to be, how am I going to understand how to be proper African when I don't even understand how to be proper South African? Why would you look at something that's on a bigger scale when you don't even understand the little scale that you are at right now? Why would you think you have a chance at developing the continent when you fail to develop your country? Why would you jump to such heights when you can't even manage the bare minimum, your country? That's why I'm saying most of these African countries, when they look at South Africa, they look at us as selfish because we like to put South Africa first and we are vocal when we say South Africa comes first. Even Namajeng Sashwood, South Africa comes first, not Africa. Africa will come after South Africa. What takes care of me right now is the country South Africa, not Africa. No one from Nigeria, Congo, or wherever in Africa has ever done anything for me personally as a person. No one has ever done anything that can benefit my life, someone from the outside. No. Everything that has benefited my life up until this point was supplied and provided by South Africa. So, South Africa is the main focus. South Africa is more important than Africa. At least that's what a lot of us in South Africa think. But it seems as if this mentality that we have as South Africans, other African nations don't have the same mentality. You know, it's funny when all these people say, no, Africa comes first. Look at Africa right now. Look at Africa. What has this Pan-Africanism thing of trying to unite Africans and things like that achieved all of these years? You know, it would be a better argument if these foreigners or people from other African nations, when they were attacking South Africa, they were attacking South Africa with facts, saying, South Africa, you need to put Africa first because look at what Africa has done for other countries. Look at how Africa is developing these countries. Look at all the things that Africa or Pan-Africanism has achieved. So Nina, when you put South Africa first, you won't be able to benefit from all these things that Africa is doing for the African countries. You see, if they were attacking South Africa with those kinds of facts, Bengos we see. But none of all these countries, these people, you see this guy is from Congo. What has Congo achieved up until this point? What has Africa done for Congo up until this point? You can't come to South Africa and tell us we need to focus on Africa when Africa hasn't done anything for us all these years. We are focused on South Africa because we are South Africans. And then the day South Africa becomes what we want it to become, then we will shift our focus into what? Focusing on Africa. Why? Because we now have experienced, we know how to develop nations because we have already developed South Africa. So other countries even will have that courage in us as South Africans. Look at South Africa, they developed South Africa. So they can help us to develop our own countries. But why would we leave South Africa undeveloped and try to develop Africa? It doesn't make sense. We need to focus on developing South Africa first. And then after we develop South Africa into what we want it to become, then we will shift our focus and focus on Africa. But seems like other African nations wants us as South Africans to shift our focus from South Africa and focus on Africa. They want us to accommodate anyone and everyone from Africa in South Africa, whether they are documented or undocumented. They just want South Africa to be a playground. Well, we will never allow that as South Africans. Come, I tell you, we will never allow that as South Africans. You can call us selfish and say that we only care about South Africa. We don't care about Africa. We do care about Africa, but we care about South Africa more. That's where we differ. You all care about Africa more than you care about your own countries. That's why these countries will never develop. That's why there will always be poverty and wars in these other African countries. Why? Because their priorities are not in check. They should focus on their own countries. Everyone should focus on their own countries. That's how we will develop Africa, by first developing our countries individually. Angeke sihlulwe ema countries wethu and then think we are going to develop Africa. Do you know how big Africa is? You can't tell me ukuthi you can fail to develop Congo and then think you are going to develop Africa. Tell me, if there's 54 countries in Africa that are undeveloped, that can't develop, are you telling me those leaders, when they come together to unite all of those countries, they are going to form a developed Africa? People, come on, think about these things. So are you telling me if we unite Africa with all this corruption that's happening here, uniting all these leaders that can't even unite their own countries, are you telling me those leaders are going to unite and form a united Africa? Stop playing with me, people. Stop playing like that. That thing will never happen. And I want to motivate you, my fellow South Africans. Don't listen to these people when they tell you you must focus on Africa, accommodate Africans because we are brothers and sisters. No, these people want to shift our focus so that we can focus on Africa and leave South Africa to crumble. And I say this again, Uguti. Some of these Africans, when they speak like this, they are speaking from a place of jealousy. You understand? They are speaking from a place of jealousy. Because when they look at South Africa, it is better than the country where they come from in many ways. Yes, of course, maybe there are some aspects where South Africa is lacking and those countries are better. But all in all, we all know that South Africa is the country in Africa. You can choose to deny it, you can choose to accept it, but it's just the truth. Yabo, it's just the truth. So some of these people, what they say when they say no, we need to focus on Africa, we are Africans first, it just comes from a place of jealousy. Focusing on South Africa has gotten us as South Africans this far, and what we want to do is continue focusing on South Africa until it becomes what we want it to become. So my fellow South Africans, let's focus on South Africa. Let's focus on making sure Uguti we eradicate the crime in South Africa. Let's make sure Uguti our rand becomes the most powerful in Africa. Let's make sure Uguti our education systems are the best in Africa. Our healthcare systems are the best in Africa. Our government is the best in Africa. That is what we need to focus on in South Africa. Make sure Uguti service delivery is existent, not this thing of shortage of service delivery in some places. There's a lot of things that we need to be focusing on as South Africans, and that's what we need to do. Focus on those things and better our country. And then after we have developed South Africa, and then we will shift our focus and focus on Africa. But currently we are still busy as South Africans trying to fix South Africa. So if you are a foreigner and you have a problem with us as South Africans trying to fix and focusing on South Africa, then it's okay. Have a problem with South Africa, you can be our enemy, it's okay, we don't have a problem with you, but just know Uguti, we won't be manipulated into thinking Africa is the main focus when we should be focusing on South Africa. No, South Africa comes first, Africa comes after. Let me repeat this thing again so that if you didn't understand me, you'll understand it one last time. You come first. After you come first, your lineage comes second, your country comes third, your continent comes fourth, the world comes fifth. You can't prioritize Africa when you fail to prioritize your country. It just doesn't make sense. But that's just my own opinion. Tell me on the comment section down below, Uguti, do you agree with me, or maybe when you have a different perspective, or do you really believe, Uguti, we need to shift our focus and focus on Africa? Before we can prioritize South Africa, we must first prioritize Africa. Is that what you think? Tell me on the comment section down below. But if you just enjoyed this video or you learned something new, please quickly leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Emmanuel, and this is Mzansi Versity, the place where we transform lives through knowledge and information. Let's meet again on another video.